deep within the Cambodian jungle. As the dawnlight filters down through the thin mist, towering stone spires emerge like sacred mountains rising up from the earth. This is Angkor Wat, the most majestic temple complex in Asia, the symbol of a civilization that once dominated all of Southeast Asia. But behind that magnificence lies an unanswered question: what caused the great Khmer Empire to collapse, leaving Angkor in ruins and silence for so many centuries? Welcome back to Hidden Universe, the journey to decode and discover the mysterious facts that have shaped human history. Angkor Wat is not just a temple, but the heart of an empire. Built in the early 12th century under the reign of King Soyavamon II, Angkor Wat is the largest religious structure ever erected by humans, with an area of over 160 hectares. It includes thousands of rooms, corridors, statues, and exquisitely carved bas-reliefs depicting angels, warriors, and stories from the Indian epics Mahabharata and Ramayana. Each stone block weighing tons was carved perfectly, stacked upon one another without mortar, creating the main towers that symbolize Mount Meru, the center of the universe in Hindu mythology. Surrounding it is a wide moat, symbolizing the cosmic ocean. The entire temple was built with precision to every degree, every direction, so that its main axis aligns perfectly with the rising sun on the spring equinox. Angkor Wat is a symbol of the philosophy of harmony between humans and the universe, between earthly power and the divine. But even more magnificent, it is only a small part of the entire city of Angkor, the capital of the Khmer Empire, one of the largest super-cities in the medieval world. When scientists used LIDAR laser scanning technology to survey from the air, they discovered beneath the Cambodian jungle cover a vast network of roads, reservoirs, canals, temples, and residential areas, spanning over 1,000 square kilometers. Angkor was not just a city, but an entire complex system, where hydraulic engineering reached the pinnacle of humanity at that time. Thanks to this canal system, the Khmer people could divert water from Tonle Sap Lake to irrigate agriculture all year round. It was because of this that the Khmer Empire prospered for centuries, dominating much of Indochina and present-day Thailand. Under the reign of Jayavarman VII, Angkor reached the peak of power, culture, and art, becoming the religious, political, and scientific center of the region. But then, like every other great empire, it gradually came to an end. Around the 15th century, the city was abandoned, temples sank into the jungle, the canals ran dry, and the Khmer Empire vanished from history almost without a trace. What really happened? The first hypothesis suggests the cause came from war. In 1431, Siamese troops from Ayutthaya stormed in to attack Angkor. After months of siege, the city fell, and the Khmer king was forced to retreat south, establishing a new capital at Phnom Penh. However, many researchers argue that this war was merely the final straw, not enough to destroy an entire civilization that had existed for hundreds of years. The second hypothesis speaks of environmental degradation. The massive irrigation system that once fed millions of Khmer people was also a double-edged sword. Expanding and intervening too deeply into nature made the system too complex to maintain. When the rains became erratic, when silt accumulated and canals clogged, the entire water regulation mechanism collapsed. Without water, crops failed, and Angkor gradually lost the ability to feed itself. Furthermore, archaeological and climate data show that from the 13th to the 15th century, Southeast Asia experienced a period of prolonged drought interspersed with massive floods. These extreme changes may have paralyzed agriculture and caused the population to plummet. Some scientists call this a double climate disaster, a fatal blow to a society that depended entirely on water. Another hypothesis mentions religious change. Throughout the flourishing period, the Khmer people worshipped Hinduism, especially the gods Vishnu and Shiva. But by the 13th century, Mahayana Buddhism began to spread within the empire. Khmer kings shifted to building Buddhist pagodas instead of Hindu temples. The entire system of belief, architecture, and art changed profoundly. Many historians believe that this religious shift shook the social structure, as the old aristocracy and clergy lost power, creating a prolonged crisis of faith. Yet, no single hypothesis can explain it fully. Perhaps the collapse of Angkor was the result of many resonating factors: war, climate, religion, and the overload of a massive urban system. A civilization so great that its very own weight pulled it down. Today, as we walk among the stone corridors of Angkor Wat, looking at bas-reliefs hundreds of meters long carved with detail down to every strand of hair, we can feel the vitality and wisdom of the ancient Khmer. Every line still seems to hold the breath of the artisans who turned stone into soul. They did not just build a temple, but erected an entire universe of stone, reflecting the human aspiration to touch the divine. But perhaps, the most miraculous thing about Angkor lies not in its size or technique, but in how it has survived through time, swallowed by the jungle, forgotten for centuries. Yet when rediscovered in the 19th century by French explorer Henri Mou, Angkor still stood firm, still glorious as if challenging time itself. Today, Angkor Wat is a World Heritage Site, a symbol of Cambodia and of all Southeast Asia. But for archaeologists, it remains an unknown, because every time we find one more answer, many new questions appear. Who were the engineers that designed that massive irrigation system? How could they calculate every water flow so accurately? And why did they abruptly abandon the place that was once the center of the world they built? Perhaps, like many other civilizations, Angkor collapsed not because of failure, but because of the natural cycle of time. When everything reaches its peak, decline also begins. That is the immutable law of the universe, which is also the very thing the ancient Khmer understood better than anyone else. As the sun sets behind the spires of Angkor Wat, golden light dyes the 1,000-year-old stone walls. We feel as if we are seeing the breath of the past. A civilization has vanished, but its soul remains here, carved deep into every stone block, in every touch, in every unanswered question. If Angkor is a symbol for the rise and fall of human power, then in Western Turkey, there is also a place once considered the gateway between mythology and reality, the city of Troy. I am Alex from Hidden Universe, where the hidden layers of human secrets are still waiting for us to discover. In the next episode, join Hidden Universe, Decoding Humanity, to find the truth behind the legend of the city buried in the fires of war and the most famous conflict of all time, the Trojan War.